Salutations, utopians. Hope all is well in your world. Global here. So, today was a wild day, and in the NBA community, uh, and it led into a wonderful game this evening between the Indiana Pacers, Eastern Conference, appearing 2024 Indiana Pacers versus the Los Angeles Lakers. As you all know, uh, it went down to the wire. LeBron, congrats on his eighth buzzer beater of his career. Now only trailing, obviously, the one and only Michael Jordan, who has nine. With that being said, um, I want to talk a little bit about this feud going on, and I thought it had went away, um, and I wouldn't even really I did because and the proof is in the pudding. I didn't post anything about it today on my Twitter X account where I'm heavily active. GL the number ABAL underscore sports. Um, because drama just doesn't excite me. It doesn't do anything for me. I do understand there's tiers of basketball enthusiasts. I'm fully aware, and for the casuals out there who have you know serious expectations. I mean obligations, or the casual fan who um, has a short attention span, because as a society our attention span has been dropping considerably. It's in the single digits. It's in the single digits now. I think it's like last I checked, 8 seconds. So I understand that some content is particularly geared towards certain demographics, right? And so for a person like me who actually enjoys the game and takes time out of their day to consume what's being placed out there, um, not necessarily my favorite kind. However, I do feel like there's a teachable moment and a great opportunity to reveal stuff, right now. As you all know, I've begun my content creating journey about 1 or 2 years ago. I can't even think now anymore about it. Just kind of wake up every day, and every day I wake up and I don't know what I'm going to write, what I'm going to say, uh, and I improv. And all my thoughts and impressions are genuinely mine. And if there were somebody else's, I have no problem citing it. If I genuinely knew I got it from someone else. Uh, the obligation to keep fresh content and be consistent is a burden, and that very few are capable of. And I have a deep reverence for anybody in this ecosystem that's able to continuously put out content, you know, regardless of the magnitude of how skillful it is. But why I'm talking about this is because a lot of content creators, I've learned, have a difficulty walking that thin line between showing your personality and yet displaying professionalism. And when you're at the top of the food chain like LeBron, I completely understand. One, first of all, Pat McAfee is at the top of his game. He's what they call in football a man's man, and um, he's highly respected and deeply revered amongst his peers. So it's understandable that when athletes go on his show, forgive me, I gotta get this charged up a little bit. Um, 1 second, gotta get a charge on this thing. So it's understandable when you know it's understandable when players get on, currently ESPN's latest major investment and feel like they're amongst one of the guys. That's a very uh, priceless skill to have. And um, the thing about having a skill set like that, and what's so unique about that, is just the mere fact that, you get more out of people. People share with you, and that's a very powerful skill to possess. The problem today was kind of another latest installment of a PR nightmare. For one, um, I don't like the disconnect between adults and the youth, and this kind of promotes that. And because if you have only one or the other, for instance, if it's too old, some people, it can easily start to get looked at as boring, and if it gets too young, it can become a clown show. And so you need a healthy blend, but it feels like there's a lot of alienating going on for the sake of discourse, which is what ultimately drives this app. And um, it's been taken to an extreme with the term like rage bait. And so when I'm watching this unfold, there were some very damaging comments made today. Uh, One of them, most notably from Braun, who, remind you, uh, is still trying to find a way to ingratiate, or maybe he's not, but for the Laker enthusiasts and for the aficionados, he's been trying to ingratiate himself amongst the community of Laker fans. One of the most storied, prestigious sports franchises in all of sports, whether it's collegiate institutions, programs, or professionally, MLB, NBA, soccer, whatever. The Lakers are, the diamond standard. And you make a comment like Giannis would score 250 points back in the day, and I felt like, bro, you got guys like Will, who are top five royalty, Lakers royalty, and you make a statement like that. It's just kind of like, bro, Kareem, you can't say in one breath you want to be embraced, and then in the same breath you disrespect the lineage and the history that built this. And that segues into my next point. You are arguably the wealthiest player in NBA history, and when he's saying things like, okay, when he's going back and forth with vets, when he's going back and forth with OGs, whether it be from media or pros, they paved the way for you to get to this point where you are what you are today. One game day's worth of money is cumulatively more than the entire legends, with the exception of certain few like Magic, MJ, guys who had the Bridge guy from Milwaukee, who just recently passed away, Junior, who owned plenty of Wendy's franchise, family owned Jet, Vibes magazine, a lot of different, you gotta realize that a lot of guys are looking at it saying, damn, it wasn't from a lack of intrigue, it just wasn't their time to get paid the way he is. And a lot of these guys are living very means to ends and looking at you, and you're abundant to the point of infinite. And the second conflict when you do that also is Luka's a Jordan brand player. So that time, that toting that line of dissing those guys, well, what about players who might want to be Jordan brand athletes? How can you have a sports agency and when you're done with basketball, call yourself, and he said, after I'm done with basketball, maybe we can have a better relationship. But when you keep throwing propane on the old school and, oh, Giannis would have 250, I need you to remind you of something. Defensive three in the key was implemented approximately 3 years prior to LeBron's arrival to the NBA. Well, 3 years prior to the NBA is just when his ascension began and cable and all that started to cover him, well before all these streaming platforms. If there was a three in the key when Giannis played, listen, with that broke jump shot of his, he's not going. We've already watched him get disassembled in playoff series. So it's not even from a standpoint of a hill worth dying on, because like we've already seen it. And with respect to Bron, guys like Kareem with the defensive three in the key, with no defensive three in the key rule,
became the all-time leading scorer. You got there by making three-pointers. So to me, it's like bro, this attack. Like I understand in this climate, especially with ESPN Los Angeles locations shutting down, announcing they'll be shutting down, they are feeling it badly. And this is why, going back to the content creator program, I meet so many people online and they, hey man, can you repost me? Hey man, can you do this? Like, listen, bro, ESPN dropped Zach Lowe. Zach Lowe was making seven figures. He was $1 million basketball analyst and got dropped like a pancake, because it's more than just having basketball analysis. It's about the personality, which is what I'm saying. Today's interview, I cut a little Gracie around because it's like he's trying to create some personability amongst the audience. He has this trying to like, hey, I'm up here, but I'm still amongst the people and I'm talking like one of the guys and all that. But as the face of the league, it's very sensitive. And I mean, these are the things at ESPN that I'm talking about, even with like Kendrick Perkins. Oh, Luca saved the NBA going to the Lakers, strong arming a small market team. Well, what message are you sending to all the other small market teams, fans who spend money on memorabilia, merch, go to the games, if you're telling them they don't matter if the Lakers are irrelevant? I don't care what the clicks say. What are you saying to people who actually pay for a ticket and show up to the game? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's kind of scary. You know what I mean? When you make and not see the residual effect. Not to mention LeBron missed an extended amount of time with a groin injury. So that one game against, I think, was the Celtics that generated, I think, 7-8 million views or something for a regular season game, or the most watched in X amount of years. Um, what is that? What happens when something like that? Then what do you got to say about when Bron goes out with a groin injury? He has to load manage, for every means to an end. All that momentum was gone after that. It's these big picture things that I'm saying, and then it's like, I understand. It's like, again, we got to do the usual frantic uh, clickbait nonsense, but it's like, and garner attention and garner views, but at what cost? You know what I mean? Short monetary gain to be the long term L is kind of crazy, you know. And so uh, tonight they got lucky. Indiana's a very good team. Obviously, the Lakers' best versus their best. Even though LeBron practically had the same amount of points as Jackson Hayes, a lob threat, and was at one point in question if he was going to even keep his double digit point streak alive. Luckily he was able to, luckily or unluckily, he was able to do it depending on what side of the fence. The last thing I want to address, and I kind of addressed it already before, he says, yes, I put the 23 on my back because of Jordan, but I went to Nike because, you know, my mom was in the project and they offered me 90 million. Well, Reebok offered you 40, and for $50 million less, you could have avoided this entire comparison by wearing your own jersey number and signing with Reebok. You know what I mean? Putting on whatever, let's say 6, and wearing and going to Reebok. That's what that extra 50 million was for him to go in there and to carry the torch and to inherit the mud throwing that comes with you walking in the building, that the greatest player of all, previous great, at least let's just say for those who don't think he, the previous greatest player of all time, or who was built to be the greatest of all time, built. You did it to yourself. Nobody cares why you did it. Oh, because it's 90 or 50 or I'm in the project. Listen, all the sentimental stuff doesn't matter. Nobody cares, because at the end of the day, that automatically was going to be the thought. You can't, the 23, the Nike, well, if I didn't know any better, you're trying to compete. Curry had the best business model. Went to Under Armour, asked for equity stake. That's what you counter with Reebok. And I don't know if that was offered, because I know Magic was offered it with Adidas way back in the day. Jordan eventually got some 13% equity in the Jordan brand, or Nike, I think, in Jordan brand. So like, it's on the table for you to go, okay, well, we know what I'm doing. Let me get 50% of Reebok, which has been irrelevant and inactive. And to his credit, they did first hear out Reebok. But then you got Nike, and they go 90 M's, and now everything you do is being pitched, and you contributed to that. He contributed some of it. But Curry, he went to Under Armour, give me equity stake. Now he's handing out shoe deals. De'Aaron Fox got a deal under his umbrella. So he's got a Jordan brand type thing. He's wearing number 30. He's not being compared to anyone. And guess what? I'm going to tell you something even more crazier. On the post, Draymond moving to second all time in Warriors franchise history in assists, even though he's 2 years after Curry. Curry's number one, but Golden State has been uh, uh, a revolving door for talent. And the guy who was the most notable for me in the recent memory, or not even just him, but in general, Mitch Richmond, Latrell Sprewell, and then the Mississippi Bullet, Monte, they're all two guards. So by nature, they don't really pass the ball anyway. They've never had really a full-time point guard stick around long enough. And then not to mention the league has changed so much. It's hyper offensive now. You know what I mean? No hand checking, no, to the point now where they're trying to get rid, scale back the 3-point line, ironically, bring back the mid range. You're starting to see more big lineups nightly. But Curry is shooting, is wearing 30 now. He's got his own jersey number, and Curry never broadcasted himself as a shooting guard. Even though all his highlights will direct you to being a scorer, he called himself the greatest point guard because obviously if he called himself what he really is, a shooting guard, he would be in the conversation with MJ. He stayed away from all that. Don't put me in no convo with MJ. I'm not wearing his jersey. I got my own shoe company, Under Armour, that is in no direct competition, like at least blatantly, even though they've had 4 MVPs represented. Only shoe brand that did that. But you got, in one season, I think it was like I think it was Cam, Steph. I couldn't remember the way it was breaking down. It was like a tennis player, but they had 4 MVPs in one season as clients simultaneously, and that's the first time it had ever been done. And like Steph knew right away. If you watch Steph as a shooter, you really enjoy him. For me, it's when I'm watching him and I'm looking for the point guard, and I'm like, but the other, like during the summer, I'm going back now and watching his career highlight, and I'm like, if I just appreciate him as the scorer, all of a sudden I'm like, wow, this is truly generational. This is truly a privilege to watch. It's when we get into this point guard nonsense where you're like, bro, Draymond's doing more orchestrating than he is. Andre Iguodala did more orchestrating during the prime years. They're running a lot of hockey assist plays, getting a lot of hockey assist system basketball being played. How can you attribute him as one of the greatest of all time at point guard? That's crazy. But it's obviously business with Under Armour. And so that was the route that I would have wanted to see from LeBron to avoid all this, because this looks crazy. You got a senior citizen arguing with potentially the most freakish genetic athlete of all time, specimen we've ever seen. What are these two guys going at each other's neck for? I don't get it. If anything, they should be collaborating. You know what I'm saying? But if this is the only way we can generate a buzz, or I guess, to garner interest from the casual fan, it's kind of, I don't know. I'm sorry to end this video unceremoniously, but these are all my thoughts that come to mind when I'm seeing all this transpire. Like, why is this the way it's got to be? I just wish it didn't. But it shakes some feathers. Obviously, another painful day. It feels like there was some kind of passing of the torch today. Obviously Mad Dog Russo has nothing to do with it, but Stephen A seems he got his money. Now they're pushing him off to the corner. This new breed of, because LeBron's going to influence the young next up and coming with the agency and everything, and just the fact that he is the best player of this generation. And so, he's going to push a lot of influence, and it seems like they're and they got Shannon Sharp, which was a smart move by First Take and Stephen A to go get him so you still have some kind of connection. But I mean, this is kind of nightmarish what's going on, honestly. Wendy is being, now LeBron's like, I don't even know Wendy like that. I don't deal with him. It's just such a catastrophic mess, but this is what it can be, in sports broadcasting and the state of the NBA. That's just my 2 cents on everything. All right, Utopians, I hope this video was informative. I'll try to do better next time. Global, out.